What's up everyone? Today we are making my holiday favorite dish, beef Wellington. Now if you don't know what beef Wellington is, it's basically a whole tenderloin wrapped in mushrooms, prosciutto, and puff pastry. And it's one of those dishes where you make it at a large family gathering or a party and you slice it up and share it with your friends. But due to the circumstances that we are in right now with the pandemic, I thought, why don't we make a smaller version of this for like a date night occasion? So anyways, let's make this.
Alright, so first what you're gonna want to do is tie your tenderloin steak with a butcher's twine. This will keep the meat tight so that we won't risk any heat getting into the center of our steak. And leave your steak out at room temperature for at least 15 minutes. Then season your steak generously with salt and pepper. Then heat your cast iron pan with some kind of high temperature cooking oil like canola oil and heat until it gets to a smoking point. Then sear every single side of the steak for about a minute. Now be careful not to leave your steak in there for too long. We just want to get some nice color on the steak, not cook it. Take your steak out of the pan and cut the twine and lightly brush with some Dijon Mustard. Now just leave your steak out to rest. Next, we are going to prepare a mushroom filling for our Wellington, which is called a Duxelle. Now for our Duxelle, we can really use any type of mushrooms that we want. It can be all cremini or a mix of different types of mushrooms. So here I have some cremini, oyster, and maitake mushrooms. Place your mushrooms on your cutting board and start chopping until the mushrooms become super fine like this. You're gonna need about 2 to 3 cups worth after it's finely chopped. Then finally chop 1 shallot and 1 garlic. Next, heat a non-stick pan over a medium heat. If you're using a stainless steel pan, make sure you start with a tablespoon of olive oil and add in your shallot, garlic, mushrooms, and leaves of a couple sprigs of thyme and season with fine sea salt. Now what we want to do here is sweat out most of the moisture out of the mushroom, because if you want your Wellington to be perfect, it's crucial to dry out those mushrooms to avoid making our puff pastry soggy when we bake them. Stir your Duxelle occasionally for roughly about 8 to 10 minutes and then spread your Duxelle onto a plate to cool off. Now we are ready to start wrapping our steak. Roll out a sheet of plastic, then place 3 prosciutto slices and half of a slice on left and the right side so that it forms like a cross, and make sure it's overlapping each other. Then spread just enough Duxelle to cover the bottom of the steak and place your steak on top of the Duxelle. Now using the plastic wrap, fold each side over to cover the prosciutto around the beef. Once the beef is covered, twist the plastic wrap to get an even tighter wrap and place it in your fridge for about 5 to 10 minutes to firm up. While our Wellington is firming up in the fridge, let's get our puff pastry ready. Lightly dust your work surface with flour, then place your puff pastry down. Since we are doing a single portion Wellington, we don't want our puff pastry to be too thick, so roll it out to about an 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 of a centimeter in thickness and cut your puff pastry into 2 even pieces. Take your Wellington out of the fridge and place it onto one of your sheets. Now if you are making 2 Wellingtons, you should have enough space to do 2 on the same sheet. Then lightly brush around the Wellington with egg wash and place your other sheet of puff pastry on top. To close off the Wellington, cup your hands like this and firmly press down around the sides. Brush your Wellington with egg wash, and at this point you can cut out the Wellington, sprinkle some flaky salt, and throw it in the oven to bake. But I like to take it an extra step further by adding a lattice pattern on top of the Wellington for that extra fancy look. To make the pattern, just simply take a lattice roller and roll it over the puff pastry. There will be a link in the description for the one that I have. Now just carefully place your lattice pattern on top and cut your Wellington out. Then brush your Wellington again lightly with egg wash and sprinkle generously with some flaky salt. Now place your Wellington in an oven that's set to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. If you are using a convection oven, set it to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Then just bake until your puff pastry is beautifully golden brown. Now once they are done, make sure you let your Wellington rest for at least 5 minutes before cutting into them. And there you have it. Now just serve it with some side of vegetables or mashed potatoes, anything that you want. In my case, I just seared off some Swiss chard and kale and made a simple red wine sauce. To make the sauce, add 300 milliliters of red wine, 1 finely chopped shallot, 1 finely chopped garlic, and leaves of 1 sprig of thyme into a pan. Reduce it down until it gets thick and then add a tablespoon of unsalted butter and swish it around. And now you've got yourself a delicious red wine sauce to serve with your Wellington.
Alright, that is it for today. Now if you really enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. And I really encourage you guys to make this for someone, because when you get that perfect golden brown crust and the perfect medium rare center, you'll definitely impress anyone who you serve this to. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video.